Hello everybody, I am Ace Creeper and today I'm back with a brand new video. Today we get to talk about something brilliant. I've been waiting to make this video for months, literally months as well. It's ridiculous and I'm so happy to finally be making this video and finally have something to talk about. So, I'm going to count down to you my top 15 TARDIS interiors. Now, this does not include every TARDIS interior ever because there have been so many. I'm including ones that don't belong to the Doctor as well because I feel like they deserve an honourable mention. Because if I kind of go for just the Doctor's TARDISes, you've got about a few little different ones and then a big bunch of them that are very, very similar. So I decided to mix it up a little bit by talking about some other people's TARDISes and their designs and the ones that I like. So I've thrown them down in a big old list of some ones to talk about that I kind of like or don't like, and you can decide from that. So don't be offended if your favourite TARDIS design is not on this list or is not first in this list, because at the end of the day it's my opinion and you don't have to agree with that. That's absolutely fine. In fact, I encourage you, tell me your top 15 TARDIS consoles or your favourite TARDIS console down in the comments below. I'll read it and I'll certainly enjoy having a look down there. So yeah, thank you very much. Let's go. So, number 1, we've got the Season 7 Third Doctor console. This is the Third Doctor's first console, and in my opinion, it's crap. It's actually probably the worst one I've ever seen, and the reason it's actually in this list is because I feel like I can actually talk about this. So, pretty much the Doctor got abandoned on Earth, he got exiled on Earth, and he wasn't allowed to leave. This was at the end of the Second Doctor era. He was forced to regenerate and exiled to Earth. So they bring back the TARDIS in the form of the console, which is exactly the same as the Hartnell and Troughton era console, but this time, instead of having the lovely cool space age walls, instead we have brick walls and shelving, and that is it. That is literally it. That's all it is. Just shelving, and there's just nothing else there. It's like a big sort of bunker type thing. It's not the nicest of places to be. I can't imagine myself going, ooh, that's the kind of TARDIS I'd want. It really isn't. It's probably the kind of TARDIS... what it looks like to me is a fan who's made a TARDIS console that looks amazing and just stuck it in their garage. And I'm like, okay, why? So yeah, I don't really like this one very much, so that's why it's number 15. Number 14 is the Season 8 Third Doctor TARDIS. I feel bad for the Third Doctor because I'm going to keep jumping at him today, but this is his second TARDIS console, and actually, I like this one. I feel like it is a nice diversion from the original. You see, what they could have done in the show is they could have just kept the original TARDIS and went through for years, and there wouldn't have been any variety, there wouldn't have been any big changes, and you couldn't really mix it up. But I feel like this TARDIS was the first one to go, okay, we're keeping a similar design, but we are going to change it, and I'm really quite fond of that. So the walls are like, they're kind of like see-through-ish, like kind of opaque-y type. It's odd, so you can kind of see through it, but not. They're like windows, but you can tell there's some of a light behind them, and it's not just two standard colours of grey and white roundels. It is actually just a white wall with holes cut out of it, and then a sort of sheen put over it. So yeah, for me, that looks great, pretty interesting, and yeah, it kind of works for the TARDIS. What I don't quite like is the fact that there are additions of the classic wallpaper that was in the first Doctor TARDIS when they couldn't afford new walls. Why did you have to include that in this one? Pointless. What? Why? Because I mean, like, it's a different roundel design. Doesn't really fit. It just doesn't make much sense. Like, fair enough if they didn't have enough budget, but they've had enough budget to completely recreate the TARDIS entirely. So why keep this crappy old wallpaper? You know, it works for the first Doctor. It doesn't really work for this one. But yeah, there's my only kind of downfall of it. Number 13, the Rani's TARDIS console. Now, that's a really interesting one because obviously this is the first one I'm in the list that isn't the Doctor's. The Rani's is very unique and I really do like it quite a lot. But it's basic, it's held back. So if you haven't already seen the Rani's TARDIS, it should be on screen now so you can go up at it and go, ooh, that looks pretty nice. But it's kind of like a little stone hut, really. It's quite small, it's quite basic. It's got these little like plinths with like body parts and like little tubs on and stuff. It's weird. It's very weird. But the console itself is quite basic. It's very small. I do love the time rotor, the like 2 rings that sort of like spin round. That looks kind of cool. Very unique. The only thing I really like about this TARDIS is that it was probably one of the first TARDISes to go out of its way and go, okay, by the way, TARDISes don't have to look like they've looked for the last however many years, like 30 odd years, whatever. Because up until this point, all the TARDISes were pretty much the same shape as the William Hartnell ones, at least the console anyway. So yeah, they haven't really changed that much, but this one kind of it rounds it off. It reminds me very much of a small, scaled-down version of Tennant's, but you can tell it's quite cheaply made. It's not a proper TARDIS budget, you know. It's very, very small. The buttons are very basic. We've got like the same button like pasted 3-4 times. It's very basic, and the room is as well very basic. It's made out of like stone, and although it does give a fresh take on the whole iconic TARDIS look, it's nothing really too unique in my opinion, so yeah. Number 12, the Season 14 4th Doctor secondary console unit. Yeah, so there's a secondary console room, and I haven't really seen many of the stories with this console in it, but I'm just going from pictures and clips that I've seen. This is obviously famous from the, especially the episode or the story or scene where Sarah Jane leaves the TARDIS and leaves the 4th Doctor as he ventures off into Gallifrey. But this is the iconic scene. It took place in this console room, so that's a pointer, definitely. It's unique, it's different. To use this for a little bit, and it kind of, again, gave off that impression that not all TARDISes have to look exactly the same, although this was inside the 4th Doctor's TARDIS, and eventually he did go back to the main console, so it wasn't too big of a change, and very temporary. It does look quite nice. The whole room's kind of wooden, there's a bit of stained glass, there's a screen. A very small sort of box room, but it was all a very nice dark oak colour, and especially the console didn't have a rotor. It had sort of like cupboards in it. It was weird, but it worked. You know, you could fly a TARDIS with that, with the sort of basic look of it. And I think, to be quite honest with you, it works. I'm happy with the way it looks. It looks alright, and I see the sort of nostalgic value of it. I don't. It's again, that's why it's number 12. I wouldn't exactly pick it myself if I were to have a TARDIS, but you know, it's still quite nice, and I can see why people like it. Number 11, the Colony in Space Master's TARDIS console. Now, this is a very interesting one. The Master has had many variations of console units during the classic series, a lot of which are just a repainted version of the current Doctor's TARDIS set, you know, the Third Doctor era, especially. There's the Time Meddler or something, with the one with the computer bank TARDIS in it. It is literally just Jon Pertwee's TARDIS with a slight colour twinge. It was almost identical in every single way, and that's just unlikely, realistically. So, yeah, this is the first TARDIS to really divert from that for the Master's theme. The exterior, I know we're not talking majorly about exteriors, but the exterior is like a massive red rocket spaceship thing. And what I liked about that is the doors could open inwards, and when you're inside the, when you're in the interior, you can see the back of the doors are in fact like red, blended in with the shape, and that gives it a sort of unique look, especially when the doors are kind of wide open. But it does keep that sort of hexagonal door design. The difference with this is it looks brighter. It's more of a scientific lab, really. It's got like pods. It's got like a strange sort of wall at the back. It's got the roundels, it's got the classic TARDIS design, but it is different enough from Jon Pertwee's TARDIS to sort of go, ooh, that's pretty damn good. And in my opinion, this is quite possibly the best Master TARDIS of the classic series. Although small and cramped, it has its own unique features, and I do quite like that. Number 10, the 11th Doctor's TARDIS console from Series 5. The higgledy-piggledy one, yeah, this is the biggest interpretation difference for TARDIS since the revival of the show. You know, they brought back with Tennant's TARDIS, they blew it up during his regeneration, and now they're going to bring in a new set. And to be quite honest with you, I really love this. It's a great TARDIS. I loved it at the time, but I personally feel that it has aged badly. I feel like it doesn't look professional. It does look like it's whacked together, and I know Tennant's TARDIS does, and I have a soft spot for Tennant's, obviously, as you'll see later on in the list. But I feel like this doesn't really age as well with the whole, like, the taps and the typewriter. It does look good, and the colour scheme's good, but at the same time, it's like, I like my TARDISes to look relatively symmetrical, whereas this TARDIS is just all over the place, hence why the character building sort of, character options toy version playset of the TARDIS was quite crap, because they really didn't have much to work with, because every wall is weird, every floor is odd, and there's loads of different bits and bats. What it did introduce though was a TARDIS with stairs and ladders and stuff, and that's quite interesting because you could explore different levels. They never did in the show, and they did it more in Capaldi's era with the whole jumping up and down the steps thing, chilling out on sofas and relaxing and stuff. They did that better in the Capaldi era with his TARDIS as opposed to this one. So that wasn't really useful, but it did introduce that, so that does get it merits. But yeah, this is mostly nostalgic value. Other than that, it just looks a bit messy. Number 9, the War Doctor console. Now, I do like this one. The War Doctor, he's great. John Hurt, the War Doctor, yay. This TARDIS only appeared in the one episode, and I'm glad they built him his own console, because what they could have very easily done is just given him a regular classic console, but instead what they did was they got Tennant's sort of console unit, and they stuck it in the sort of, with the coral pillars, in a classic TARDIS walling, and given the sort of main console a sort of whitewash to make it look kind of a bright white colour, and I think that kind of works, to be honest. As much as this TARDIS isn't very unique, it's very much a mishmash of other TARDISes and looks like something a fan would probably make, really. It comes out on screen really nicely. I think it just looks great, beautiful. I don't know what else to say, really. It just looks nice, you know? It's a nice mix between Tennant and the classic series, and it's a nice conjoiner between the two. Although it doesn't really feel in place with the current canon of the fact that Paul McGann's TARDIS obviously came before this, and his was more like the new series TARDISes than this one. So it would have made sense if it was kind of the other way around, like if Paul McGann had this one and the War Doctor had McGann's. But you know, yeah, I can't really argue. It's its own design, it's very nostalgic, and it worked in terms of a 50th anniversary standpoint. Number 8, the Season 21 anniversary console, the one that was used by the 5th, 6th and 7th Doctor all at one point. This is the big one, the one that majorly diverged from anything before, and the console that they kind of kept the longest, really. This was running all the way through season 21, 22, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and I believe 7 was the one where they wanted to change it. Oh, no, sorry, no. Did they not finish on... Yeah, they finished on season 25, so this ran for that many seasons, and then they were going to change it for the next season, but they never got a chance to because the show got cancelled. So this was the sort of last TARDIS of the classic era, and it's a good one. It looks nice. It's got screens in there. It's got different colour schemes. It uses a sort of yellowy roundel design on the wall, as well as the nice whitewash again with the walls and the screen. It does look pretty good, and it's quite unique. It's a nice, more modern take on what was the original William Hartnell TARDIS. It looks good, and it does look quite impressive on screen. You know, it's very iconic in that sense. It actually does work for me, and I really do like this one, if I'm being honest. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of in the middle. Doesn't really have much to do with me and the rest of the TARDISes. There are TARDISes I prefer more. And then moving on to number 7, which you're all going to kill me for, but it's the Hellbent Series 9 TARDIS. Yeah, so this one I have an explanation behind. Obviously, Hellbent is not the most culturally accepted episode in terms of the Doctor Who fan base, but in my opinion, I don't think it's that bad. Don't shoot me. I like the TARDIS, though. The TARDIS that Clara and Ashilda use at the end. Now, as much as I don't like their characters coming back, and I would have preferred Clara to stay dead, etc., the TARDIS is lovely. The whole idea of having a William Hartnell TARDIS with a sort of American diner when you walk out the door is quite nice. You know, it's a different. It's the first, I think, first time I believe the New Who show has used a actual working chameleon circuit. So that was quite interesting. I liked it. I think it looked good. You know, if I were to ever have a TARDIS, this would be a pretty cool one to own. Not the best one, obviously, because it's number 7 on the list, not number 1, but you know, having the classic, very classic William Hartnell style TARDIS along with the diner on the outside, it just makes it all quite cool. And I know it's not very practical for the Doctor, and he would never use it. But I do quite like the idea you can just walk into a diner and be like, okay, do you want to come in the actual time machine now? 'Cause that's pretty cool. You've got a time machine shaped like a diner. It's great. I love it, and I'm happy with how this looks because it just feels great. Number 6, Series 6, the Junkyard TARDIS. Now this is only used in The Doctor's Wife, and was designed by a child, a fan. And to be quite honest, I love it. I've got a really soft spot for this, real soft spot for this Junkyard TARDIS. I think it looks great. It's very unique, very messily put together. It's kind of the size scale of the secondary console, really, and it is mishmashed together, but that is the point of the story. The fact that a child designed this is insane because it's got so many different elements that just work for it. Now let me discuss a few. The whole idea is that it's made from other dead TARDIS consoles. So we've got 3 different roundel wall designs that we've never seen before, which would make sense because it's obviously different TARDISes. It's got this cool red, very slim console unit, time rotor, which just looks, again, just amazing. The actual console itself with all the different things on it's got a keyboard on it. That's pretty cool. You can tell that's something the Doctor's just found and stuck on there. The screen in one of the panels, very reminiscent of the season 21 TARDIS, which I love. Yeah, it mishmashes a lot of different generations. It's got these sort of VIP tassel things. It's also got the, it's got loads of different mishmashed elements of many different TARDISes and concept designs for other classic TARDISes. Keeping a very classic theme as well. It's the first time that the New Who show went back to sort of going, oh, here's a more classic-y looking TARDIS, because you need to remember that looks very reminiscent of the classic TARDISes. Obviously, it's good. I really like this one, especially since it's the third playset character options are released, and it's nice to have on my shelf and look at every single day. So I do get used to seeing it and going, that's a pretty damn nice TARDIS. Number 5, the TV movie 8th Doctor console. Now this one's beautiful. Summing it up nicely, it is a very steampunk, industrial type one. The girders, the theme of it, it's all very open plan. There's chairs, bookshelves, filing cabinets, massive doorway. Very classic yet very modern, and very quite impressive on screen. It was the first TARDIS to sort of attach it to the ceiling canonically. So that's pretty cool. The actual console rotor thing goes into the ceiling, which has been the theme, which has now been the theme since 2005 for the modern era. So that's something it kind of introduced. The cool wooden panel just looks amazing. It's got the little flip dials for the time and place where you are and stuff. The pull down screen, which Matt Smith's first TARDIS kind of nicked the idea of. It's very industrial and steampunk looking, with the whole very metal and wood type looking things, very Victorian, I would say, and suited the 8th Doctor well for the short amount of time we saw him in it. I feel like it would be great if we actually did get to see more of McGann in this TARDIS, but unfortunately I feel like that TARDIS set has been dismantled. I don't know the story behind it, but I presume it very much has been dismantled by now. Number 4, Season 26, and there isn't a Season 26. Yeah, the show got cancelled in Season 25, so what do you mean Season 26? Yep, this TARDIS is not canon, but technically it is, because they had plans to completely redesign the TARDIS if the show came back for another season. Unfortunately it didn't, and the 7th Doctor and everything was just discontinued. But this was the new TARDIS design they wanted to go for. The picture here is Sylvester McCoy inside the new TARDIS. It looked very cheap, it looked very basic, but it hung the TARDIS console from the ceiling. So technically this was the first one, if you're not thinking canonically. It completely hung it from the ceiling though. It didn't have anything underneath the main console, so that was kind of new and unique to the sort of design. And this is kind of unheard of, really, until Titan Comics recently brought it back in their comic strip, adapting this cheaply made console into this big, extravagant looking room, which I must say looks amazing. And to be quite honest, I'm really disappointed we didn't get to see this on screen, because it looks amazing. If you look at it, it's got a very 7th Doctor-y vibe, but very classic as well. And you can kind of see where 8th Doctor. You can kind of see where the 7th Doctor went to the 8th Doctor. So if this TARDIS was canon, I'd be very, very happy, because it just looks great. You've got the massive, massive roundels on the wall, which obviously spaces out the differences through time. It's got the sort of girders, but not as steel looking. It's got a floating console, which is attached to the ceiling. It's got the bookshelves, chairs, everything, and it looks beautiful. So I'm really, really unhappy that we never got to see this really on screen. But overall, it looks beautiful, and I'm very, very happy that someone has done a mock-up design of it, because it just looks great. Maybe not in the original set design, maybe that would have been a little bit more crap. It looks something out of Crystal Maze, but the actual Titan Comics version looks amazing. And I'm, if this TARDIS ever came to light in the way that it did in that comic, I would have it at this spot. So that's more of an honourable mention than a spot, so sorry about that if that's annoyed you, but I just love this console. Number 3, the First Doctor's Season 1 console. This is iconic, and I'm not relating to the one in Twice Upon a Time, because they redesigned the TARDIS. They redesigned the TARDIS with hexagonal designs, made the console white, whereas in the original it was, black and white, but it was a mint green colour, and I think the mint green for me works a hell of a lot better. So we're comparing this one from the very, very original William Hartnell TARDIS and the one used in Adventure in Space and Time, since that was probably the most accurate thing we've had to it yet. Iconic. Obviously the original TARDIS was going to be on here very high up somewhere, because it is iconic. It is so unique in its own way and fashion. It's, half-built wall, because they really couldn't afford to have another wall, so they just had this sort of wallpaper effect over it. It worked for the show. The console itself was so unique for its time, so new and brand new, and it kind of birthed the idea of the TARDIS, this console. So again, if this didn't look very good and this one didn't work, there wouldn't be Doctor Who. You can't have Doctor Who without the TARDIS. You know, the TARDIS is as vital to Doctor Who as the Doctor is, in my opinion. So yeah, the very classic one. It looks great. I love the different bits and bats, the chairs, the clock, the sort of big golden pillar things for no reason, the sort of computery glass things behind the TARDIS console area. It's just great, and I absolutely adore it. So yeah, one of my absolute favourites. Number 2, the Series 8 12th Doctor TARDIS console. Now, yeah, I absolutely love this one. It's so unique, and we're not including the Matt Smith one because it's practically the same design. But Capaldi's picked Matt Smith's second console up and went, yeah, I'm going to change that. We're going to make it red. We're going to have vents in the floor that like vents steam out of it. We're going to have actual roundels around the bottom of the TARDIS, as well as bookshelves, chalkboards, a guitar, amplifier, seats, comfy chairs, everything, you know. You had everything in this TARDIS, and it is by far the TARDIS with the most personality to date. I absolutely love it. It's the first big and probably the most expensive TARDIS set we've ever had on Doctor Who. The stairways are reintroduced again, and they just look great. It's used so many times in some great episodes as a sort of story plot, especially in Series 8. They used the TARDIS design hell of a lot as a sort of home story point from where you need to go. It's not used as much in later series, but I still do love it. I think it looks absolutely fantastic, in the words of the 9th Doctor, and I think it is definitely one of the top ones in terms of TARDIS design that we're probably never really going to be able to top easily, you know. But there is one that I do feel does top it, and that, of course, for pure nostalgic view and fan of this design in general, is the every episode. You've got the sort of more greeny view of it, got the more orangey view, the more dead view of it when it goes red as well. This TARDIS is purely iconic with the show, and although it doesn't have many doors leading off to other rooms and such, it kind of kept that real classic Doctor Who vibe whilst making the show modern, and it's kind of steampunky and kind of old, and that makes me happy to see the TARDIS a little bit more beaten up. It doesn't have to be something out of Star Trek, like nice pristine metallic silver for it to be a good TARDIS. This shows you can do a good TARDIS, making it look very natural with those coral pillars and the sort of way the TARDIS is put together. I have no complaints. This is my favourite console. It always has been, and it probably always will be. But yeah, that's pretty much that. Sorry for the really long video, but you guys have been asking for this one for a while, so I thought it was probably worth eventually making it. Yeah, there's not much else to say really. You tell me your favourite TARDISes ever, and make sure you tell me what you think Jodie Whittaker's TARDIS is going to look like when it eventually comes round this autumn. Very, very excited to see what it's going to look like, to be honest. I'm hoping for some sort of crystallic looking thing, really, to be honest. But that's just, yeah, that's what I've heard, and that's kind of the way I want to go with it as well. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much that. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please do leave a like. Comment below and tell me your opinions in the, you know, whatever. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're almost at 6,000 now. Holy hell, that is mental. Yeah. Check out the Patreon page if you want to support the channel. Discord server if you want to talk about more Doctor Who-y type things. Check out my social media links in the description below, and I'll see you all next time. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.